So, I haven't made one of these for a while, and I want to say a few things about Elon Musk's chart. I don't want to do an exhaustive analysis, and I don't know how to screen share on this thing, so I'm just going to tell you one or two things. Because when I do a chart, I like to concentrate on what's the simple bits, the sun and the moon, and their houses, and their signs. Signs more important, in my opinion, than the house. The house shows us the area of life that we find ourselves, we're compelled to express that planet in. But its inner meaning is the sign it's in. And Musk has got the sun in the 12th house in Cancer. I'm going to try here, I'm not going to, I'm going to try not to damn or praise him, because that's there's a lot of that about at the moment, and fair enough, but that's not what astrology is about. Astrology, we have to stand back from that, and that's difficult. It's really difficult. And if you're not damning him, then you must be praising him. If you're praising him, then you're not damning him. Sun in the 12th house in Cancer. What I'm particularly interested in is looking at Musk's religious quest. That's what I'm looking at. What is the nature of it, and what does he do with it? Not whether or not he's getting things right or not in the world, which is an endless discussion. I'm more interested in him personally. Now, Sun in the 12th house in Cancer. That's hidden. Moon is below the horizon as well. His chart is quite introverted from that point of view. He's not the sort of guy, and it's sensitive. He's a double Cancer. Yeah, he's got rising Cancer as well. He's got Mercury bang on his rising sign, which is why he places such a strong emphasis on communication. Whether or not you think he's a good communicator, that's for you to decide. But it's strongly there in his chart that he does attempt to communicate. And that he cares. Double Cancer. They care. And that's how he talks. He really cares about the future of humanity. And that's why he wants to get us to Mars, to save us in case of disaster here. Now, you might think he's completely bonkers in seeing that as the solution. But that is what the chart says. He cares. He's a sensitive guy. But he's got Sun in square to Uranus. So that kind of gives a harder edge. That means he can sack people. Yeah, it means he can buy Twitter and sack people, sack most of the staff, because he thinks, they're unnecessary. That's the kind of hardness of that Uranus can give you, that kind of separation. Yeah? It's very different to the Cancerian, which the shadow of the Cancerian is you couldn't possibly sack anyone, because that would make you some kind of bully. Yeah? So, some kind of hard man. Some kind of uncompassionate man. So it's interesting. He's got kind of both of those there. That he can be so ruthless. I mean, you don't build up companies like he's done without that. And yet at the same time, he cares about humanity. He cares on the biggest scale. The Sun is in the 12th, which is the collective at its biggest. And it's also a place of withdrawal, of the hermit. In the 12th house, we're on our own, and we come into deep relationship with ourself, which is also God. Not that I believe in the literal Christian God, but you know what I mean. That's why the Hermit card is carrying that lantern. It's the light of God that he comes to see, that he comes to live from in his solitude. That's why he wants to be solitary, so that he can experience that. And that's why we're often terrified of being on our own, because it's too much for us. All we might experience is our inadequacy. Anyway, back to Musk. Because the thing is, there's two existential points I want to raise. One, he wants to redeem humanity by getting us to Mars, yeah, to preserve humanity, yeah, in case of disaster here, and then make us multiplanetary. And the other thing is he had an existential crisis when he was 12 or 13. This deep search for meaning. He wanted to know what the meaning of life was, and that was precocious. Yeah, it's normally a few years later, if you have it at all. A lot of people, they just accept the world as it is, and they're quite happy, and they just live the life that is there to be lived. So, what was happening when he had that existential crisis? When he was like, say, 13, Neptune was just moving into Capricorn. Now, his sun in the 12th is at 5 degrees of Cancer. So Neptune was coming up to oppose his sun. So that was his existential crisis. And he read around a lot. One of the key texts was Douglas Adams's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And what he likes to quote there is that computer was asked for the meaning of life, yeah? And it spent 1 million years working out the answer, and huge crowds gathered for the answer. And the answer was 42, which is a great joke. Yeah, and Elon pulled from that humour is important in these things. But also, as the computer said, well, you've got to ask the right question. I mean, we don't even know what life is, let alone what its meaning is, if you think about it. But, you know, if you've got a dead body and a live body, well, what is in the live body that isn't in the dead body? It's very hard to say. We know there is something, but we don't know what it is. That's because we don't know what life is. We don't even know where it came from. Yeah? The more we understand life, even simple life, the more we understand how ferociously complex it is. And the chances of it having arisen at random out of the primordial soup just recede mathematically. They're just almost infinitely improbable. The infinite improbability drive, you get that, don't you? Or is it the probability drive? Anyway, so we don't even know what life is. But that's by the by. The point is, Musk had his existential crisis when he was 12 or 13. And because it was Neptune, it was the solution was one of redemption. That's what Neptune does. What will save us? At the moment, Neptune's moving into Aries, a very masculine sign. And it's like, what will save us? Well, there's this great eruption of masculinity. Yeah, we need to take charge of the world and cut all the waste, etc., etc. It's very masculine. A lot of people don't like that. I'm not asking you to like or dislike it. I'm just describing it. It's like, that's what will save us. Yeah. As Musk puts it, America's going bankrupt. And he's right. We've got to do something quick. So anyway, back to Musk. Redemption. That was what will save humanity. That was what was brewing when he was like 12 or 13. He's wanted to bring people to Mars since forever. And the interesting thing is that Neptune will square that sun in 2 or 3 years' time. It's moving into Aries now, so it's time for the next existential crisis for Musk. Yeah, one that resonates with the one that he had when he was 12 or 13. In a way, that's my main astrological point. Yeah, that I want to make in this video is that the existential crisis that Musk had when he was 12 or 13 is coming back in the next couple of years. Now, what's interesting for me, in such a introverted, sensitive chart, he is so extremely extroverted in his attitude to life. I mean, you can see his introversion just in the way he is. Yeah, he goes back in and he's thoughtful. Yeah, you might not agree with his thoughts, but that's how he works. He thinks about things. He goes inward and he thinks, and then when he comes out with this solution, it's always highly reasoned. His mother noticed that from when he was about 3, is that he had the reasoning capacity of like an adult. That's why she thought he was a genius, which all mothers think, but I think she had a point. So he uses reason very strongly. Mercury rising, but it's very felt. He's got Mercury, which is your mind, rising, so he certainly uses reason. And it's square to Uranus, like his sun, S-U-N. So it's original. Yeah, it's outside the box, which all that means is that you're prepared to look at the facts. That's my experience. You look at the facts and go, well, what will work? And for most people, it's like, wow, he's thinking out the box, etc., etc. And that's because most people, when they think along the lines of, what do I believe already? And how can I, what do I think about this in the light of that? Whereas someone who thinks originally simply goes, forget about what I want the outcome to be or what I believe. What are the facts? What's the best solution? In a way, that's all original thought often is. In a way, it's really easy, but bloody difficult because it's so hard to put those beliefs aside. Anyway, Musk is having this Neptune square sun in the next few years. His attitude to life is highly extroverted for such a sensitive, introverted person. What's that about? And it's just to say he's got Pisces on the 9th house cusp. That's our religion. That's ruled by Neptune. Again, redemption. It's that other theme of redemption, of saving humanity. So really, we need to save ourselves, don't we? There's no point trying to save humanity. It's not going to work. We don't want to be saved. Whatever Jesus said. So I think in the next few years, we're going to see Musk mellowing. He's had this fierce drive to get us to Mars, to solve the long-term problem of transport using fossil fuels by getting us on electric, which we can generate in other ways, and also make enough money to get us to Mars. I really believe it when he says he doesn't care about money. I think he just wants it to, so he can fund getting us to Mars and starting a colony there. So I think all that, it is ferociously literal, ferociously extrovert. That's, and there's something not right about that for someone whose chart is so introverted and sensitive. And it doesn't mean it's wrong, but in a way he's projecting his own need for personal redemption onto the world. There's a degree of that going on. There's a genuine redemption of the world going on because he's got the sun in the 12th. That's what they do. You get 12th house leaders. We had a whole string of them back in the day. We had Blair and Brown and Bush. They're all 12th house suns. They're engaged with the collective. The collective functions through them. So, in a way, Musk is very sensitive to the collective and what's running through that. It's almost like he has no choice. He has to respond to the collective, because he cares about the collective. But there's an element of mellowing, of withdrawal of the projection going on in the next few years. That doesn't mean he won't still keep trying to get us to Mars, but the solution he found when he was 13 will no longer be adequate. It needs finessing. It needs qualifying. It needs deepening. It needs mellowing. That's what I think. What the actual outcome will be of that, I don't know. But it's very interesting when you put those two together. The Neptune opposite sun of his early teens and the Neptune square sun that's coming up now. I better stop there because otherwise it'd be longer than you probably want to listen to. But I will just end. Be sympathetic to the guy. You don't have to agree with him. Watch some of those long form interviews with Joe Rogan. He's also done them with Donald Trump. We need to get to know these people as human beings before we judge them. Then you're in a position to judge them. And judge the shit out of them. Judge the hell out of them. Once you know them, once you've got a sense of them as human beings. But if you haven't got a sense of them as human beings and you have the opportunity to do so, I say you've got no business judging them because your judgment is just what you want to see. You're not protected from just projecting your own shadow as you buy into a kind of collective mindset about how awful these people are. Stand outside of that collective mindset. Yes, still hold them to account once you've got a sense of them as humans, and then you'll have good judgment. You won't just be part of a collective madness, which is how often things are, and that's very hard to see. Okay, I will end it there.